Well, good afternoon, everybody. I see people are clocking in, which is great. Welcome to our zipForms Advanced Tools and Tips. I am your co-host, Anthony. I work here at Orange County Realtors. Been here now for almost 20 years. I am part of the outreach program here at Orange County Realtors, and the goal with outreach is to give you training on all your tools and products. Not only do I and Leo, who is our trainer for today, train on zipForms, which is our big topic today, but I also train on MLS, how to add, modify listings, create CMAs, all the rules and regulations. And of course, Leo and I both love training on technology and tools that are free to you, the member, offered to you by CAR, NAR, and of course, CRMLS and Orange County Realtors. With that said, I would like to introduce my co-host today, Leo Loera. Leo, tell the audience a little bit about who you are.
I'm wonderful.
Okay.
No, but seriously, I've been with the association since 2007, and I started off in membership and progressed from membership over to becoming the super key specialist, which I am today. And I've also added to that repertoire of things I know I'm also doing outreach training with Anthony. And we've, in the past, before the pandemic, we did classes in offices. We also did them at each of our locations in Fountain Valley and Laguna Hills. But for now, since the since the pandemic, we've been doing it just webinars only. And in the future, we'll try to do some hybrid classes. Will be a mixture of in-person as well as online. So that's what we're trying to put together for you in the next upcoming months.
Yes. And speaking of which, seeing how this is an online training, everybody attending today will get a copy of today's webinar, but we do encourage you to ask as many questions as need be. Again, today is all about showing you the advanced tools. So if you were here this morning going over the basics, we showed you how to put together a transaction, how to put together your templates, how to use some of the basic menu choices in a transaction to help make your transaction lives a little bit easier. Then our second class, which just ended about 45 minutes ago, went over digitally signing documents using either one of your platforms, either DocuSign or Digital Ink. So Leo went over from start to finish what you as an agent do, what a signer experiences, and then what you guys get in the end once the documents are completed. But today what we're going to do is we're going to dive down and show you a lot of the really advanced tools that zipForms has to offer. Some things that you might know about that you've seen, other things you probably weren't even aware of, and hopefully will make your transactional lives a lot easier. So with that said, Leo, take it away. Oh, and I will be monitoring chat and the Q&A. Please feel free to ask your questions in the Q&A section or in the chat box. I'll read them back to Leo, and then Leo will be able to answer them. And again, everybody will get a copy of today's recording. So with that said, take it away, Leo. Okay,
great. So we're going to cover just some tips to make life a little bit easier as you use zipForms. Because we've already taught some of the basics of what to know just to get started within zipForms in the prior two classes, which honestly, we have videos already of those classes from prior classes of those same topics in our education video library. And I can touch on that later, so you can watch it at any time. But for this particular class, as Anthony said, we're going to send you a recording of this one as well, because sometimes we may cover a few more things that we didn't touch on the other classes. So today's class, we're going to be looking at mutually exclusive checkbox field. That's a lot of syllables. But we're going to explain what that means in just a moment. And then auto adding addendum, text overflow addendum, clause manager, creating a listing transaction with RPR. We'll explain what RPR is in just a moment. And then the share function. And then if we have time, we'll do a lot of questions and answers. So the first topic we're going to touch is if A not B. Ooh, sounds like a logic class from back in college, way back in the day. And the perfect example of A not B would be if it's an all cash offer, then it cannot have loan information. So let's refer page 1 of the RPA and section 3C and 3D. So I'm going to exit out of this altogether, minimize it, get out of my way. Let's go back into zipForms and take a look at it. The wonderful thing about zipForms is, if you didn't know, is that it signs you out quite often if you're not busy. So I took a break for a little bit and all of a sudden it signed me out. So I'm signing back in. So remember, mutually exclusive checkbox field. If A not B. Okay, so we're going to the transaction which we created last.
Now, real quickly, Leo, what do you mean by if not A, not B?
Let me show you. No, we just kind of touched on that. If it's a cash offer, then obviously if it's a cash offer, all cash, then it can't have any financial information in there. So that's like, what?
Oh, you mean like loan information?
Correct. So
So
if somebody wants to finance the purchase of a property, but they say, oh, it's going to be an all cash offer. Well, that's not an all cash offer if you're going to finance even $1 of that. It's not a all cash offer.
gotcha. So what the mutual exclusive checkbox field means is that you can't select its polar opposite,
Yes,
a polar opposite of a choice, right? So if you're given a choice, either all cash or a loan, you can only select one of those two, not both.
correct.
Gotcha.
Lots of things in life are kind of like that. If you're this, you can't be that, kind of thing. Let's see. Moving this out of the way. Okay, let's see. We are on what I'm looking for. Okay, so here we are. This is page 1 of the RPA. How do I know? Oh, I've seen it before. It says right there, RPA page 1 of 16. Even though it's down here, there are other forms prior to that, but this is the first page of the residential purchase agreement. So let's go back in over here. And then this is what I want to point out. So when I click this, you're going to see some things change on the screen. So I'm going to click it. Put it back on. Okay, so in case you missed it, I'm going to go back here and click it one more time. Wow, exciting. Now, what am I changing? When I click all cash offer, all this information down here, loan amount, it's going to be whited out. You're not going to be able to touch it. So once again, I click it, and there we go. Now we can't touch any of those fields. See, you're not going to be able to enter any information. It's not going to recognize it because it's the polar opposite. It's either an all cash offer or it's going to be financed. So that's what we mean. Mutually exclusive checkbox field. Now you're not going to see it in every document within zipForms. There's just a few select forms that you may run into this. So we wanted to make sure that when you see this, you're going to like, what happened? Well, why did these get whitened out? Well, because it's the polar opposite. You can't have loan amounts of any sort if it's an all cash offer. So yeah, that's kind of easy to understand. Okay.
And does this also pertain to close of escrow?
Yeah, I should. If it's an all cash offer, it should not affect, yeah, there's escrow there for some, it should not have to do anything with financing.
Right. You've got there under section B about the days of after acceptance of close of escrow. If you select the days and you put in, say, 45, you then cannot select a date. So if you were to select the date now,
Yeah, nothing.
yeah. So if you select the date, it should take out the days.
Yeah. unless you check mark this, then all of a sudden, yeah, May 7th. So either or. If this can't be that. So polar opposite. Even though we feel like these are not polar, like, well, they're just opposite for the transaction in this particular line. So that's the first one. Out of the addendum, mutually exclusive checkbox field. I printed out the list. I cheated from my spreadsheet. So the next one we're going to touch, unless anyone has a question about that, it sounds like a pretty simple thing to understand. We can start touching on auto adding addendum. So if you're asking auto adding addendum, what could that be? Well, let's go to the screen. If you click that you will be including a form, then zipForm will add that form automatically. So, and there's not a lot of forms that will have that capability. Some of them will. Lucky enough, the residential purchase agreement has that. So we're going to look at page 2, section 5, addenda and advisories. And then I also have to show you that if you accidentally click a form and you want to uncheck it, you have to remove it manually. So let's take a look at that. So we're going to scroll down a little bit. It's a lot of information. So here we getting close. There we go. So in this section, we're going to use this section, for example. And once again, this is page 4. So page 4. So this is going to be, you see here that there's some kind of all kinds of different forms to look at. So let's say in our example that we need to do a probate advisory. So we click this, and then all of a sudden, the form probate advisory has popped up. You're like, really? Well, let me see if we can do the same thing with the statewide buyer and its seller advisory, the SBSA form. I click that, and all of a sudden it says that we added that as well. Like, then you start saying, are you sure we added that? Let's find out. We back up. And then sure enough, we'll take a look at our list of forms, and there it is, probate and statewide advisory. Now, if they were added accidentally, you can go first to this is how I do it, how I recommend doing it. You go back to that same form, the residential purchase agreement. You went, oh, I didn't want the probate advisory. Let me take it off. If you click this, it will not remove it. You will see that if you go back, that probate advisory is still there. So you're like, oh, what do I do? Well, no panic. You don't have to do panicking. You just click that little down arrow and then click delete. And there we go. Click yes. So it's gone. And then now you're left with the statewide buyer and seller. And by the way, if you wanted to organize this to make it look a bit nicer, you can. You can just move this up here if you wanted to make it look nicer. To me, it's nicer. And then I click done organizing. And you can add a folder if you wanted to. I know we're going tangent, like don't go tangent. Like, yeah, we can go tangent. Added docs, for example. I made up a folder. Why did I do that? Oh, because in our last class, we added that folder. We added that document, I should say. There's the added doc. So I can just go organize, grab that and take this to, come on, let me go down. Okay, hold on a second. I'm trying to get organized. There we go. Stop playing video games with me. Wait. Apparently I can't move it. Okay, fine. I will move it this way. Move it to added docs. Move. That's one way of organizing things. So I know we went tangent. I apologize, but sometimes just things don't look organized. I have to fix it up. It's like a closet. You have to just like go in there and just fix it up, even though you're just looking for a shirt or something. So where were we? So we're looking at auto adding addendum. So you check a box, and once you check the box, it will automatically add the form that you needed regarding that particular form. So that's something that's very nice to deal with. So the next thing we're going to touch on, unless anybody has a question about that. So we learned two things. The mutually exclusive checkbox field, if A, not B, like that's an all cash offer, then it's nothing be financed. This one is automatically adding a form per the document. So have your choice. So this one is text overflow addendum. Text overflow addendum, this will automatically add the addendum when the text is more than the display field. So like in Twitter, we have 140 spaces. It would be nice if in Twitter that it will behave this way, but it kind of doesn't, just creates a new tweet. So getting back to this, the TOA form, text overflow addendum, will be added to the end of the document list. It'll be displayed by contract page and section, and then you can be used in any contract requiring text, and will automatically add more TOA forms if the first page is completely full. So if you've gone through filling out one entire page, it'll automatically add another TOA page so that we can keep on going. Sometimes a description, like maybe agent visual inspection disclosure form, AVID, maybe you get really descriptive and you put down a lot of details that's going to overflow into another TOA form. So let's practice with that same RPA contract. So we go into RPA. Come on. The RPA doesn't like me. Fine, I will be mean to you. I'm going back into RPA, into docs, mints. There we go, RPA. Are we done? Is it organizing this? That's the reason why it's giving me problems. There we go. Organize. Done organizing. Okay. Okay, so there we go. Our residential purchase agreement. Sometimes the computer likes to play games with me. So when we are talking, let's say we go into, let's find an area, additional finance terms. Okay. So I'm going to start with the word start. So that'll be easy to find and keep track of. And let's say buyer will provide milk, cookies, donuts, angel tickets. Okay, I need to keep on typing. There's a lot more. So I'm just going to hit some buttons and just keep on going. Numbers, just make this long. And oh yeah. So it's going to be a long description of what the finance terms are. And it's, as you can, and this is all fictitious, of course. We're not going to get angel tickets. We're not going to bribe anybody. But then at the very end, I'm going to write down, thank you for your time. So once I click that, thank you for your time has disappeared. So it's like, where did it go? Okay, well, with the text overflow addendum, let's take a look. So we click preview and give it a moment to load. And while it's loading, it's going to create the TOA form and show you where it's at. So we're at G2 right now. Okay, going down. I know it's moving pretty fast. I'm sorry, but I'm just quickly trying to get to that right spot so that we could see like, oh, okay. See, there it is, G2. See text overflow addendum, CAR form TOA paragraph 1. And then we go all the way down to the last page. And there it is. See, start, and thank you for your time. So in some places through contracts where you have to type in information, you don't have to worry about truncating words, throwing out words, dumping to. No, just go ahead and write it normally. and it will automatically allow you to keep that information. And if need be, it will put it on a TOA form. So this is really to your benefit to allow you to go ahead and write to your heart's desire, make sure it's accurate, and make sure you're not going to get yourself in jeopardy. So it's important that you put in that information, and that way, if you need to refer to it, it's there in its entirety and complete. So that way it's not going to be, I had only 140 characters to choose from, and I had to put in the most important things. You won't have to do that with this. So the text overflow addendum is automatically going to happen, and you don't have to do anything further. So that's something that I think is going to make you less worried about doing these contracts. And less worried is one thing that you don't need on when you're dealing with a contract. So we've learned 3 important things. Text overflow addendum, we learned about auto adding addendum, and then we learned also about mutually exclusive checkbox field. That's a lot of syllables. So the next thing we're going to learn is clause manager.
Before we do that, Leo, are there any questions from anybody? Was everybody aware of these features already, or just thought, oh, wow, that's a really cool thing. Thanks for showing us. Any feedback?
And if it's an extra peace of mind that when you're trying to like do an inspection of yourself, I mean, of the listing site, and you're like, well, what do I put down? Do I put down everything? Yeah, go ahead. Put down as much information as possible, but make sure you don't say, for example, if you see a stain on the ground, you're not going to say it's a water stain because you're not certain if it's a water stain, a chemical stain, what. You'll say it's a stain. You can give description about it, but it's 8 inches by 3 inches. And we see bubbling about 1 inch at its highest point. You can do that, it's fine. But yeah, you don't want to put enough description words on there, they might get in trouble. So with no questions, we're going to move on to clause manager, the 4th thing today. So the clause manager is a clause, in case you're wondering, like, what's a clause? In zipForms, clause is verbiage that may be used for often needed forms or for forms that are rarely used, but require special wording, specific wording. So for example, if you do a lot of transactions for people renting, then all of a sudden a client walks up and says, I'm going through a probate situation. Can you take care of me? Sure, money's money. I'll go and take care of you. And then you have a conference with your broker or your mentor, and they say in special certain circumstances in these areas within the contract, you have to have this special wording there. So you're like, okay, I'll make sure I have that special wording there. Rather than storing it once, it's best to put it in a clause manager. So that way in the future, if you ever run into another probate situation, that specific wording will be readily available when you need to use it in that special section of that form. So I'm going to create one and show you what it looks like. Personal clauses are ones created by the user, us. Library clauses are from the broker. We'll only focus on the personal ones. We're going to create a clause, give it a category, clause title, clause wording, and then we'll show you more about the pencil icon as well. So let me go ahead and minimize that. And we're going to look at clauses. So let me get out of this screen. And there we go. So our clauses, when I'm in transactions, I look at transaction tools. And when I click transaction tools, there's the first one, clause manager. So I choose it. I have no clauses right there, library clause. I have no personal clauses as well. That's okay. We're going to create one right now. So we're going to click the plus sign, it says new clause. In this case, we're going to choose a category. If you haven't created categories, you never used it before, you can write one up. So this will be for the buyer. The clause title at time of closing. Sellers, oh no, buyer's responsibility. Okay, now what I'm going to put here is not a real life situation. You will not put this in a real life situation, okay? At time of closing, buyer will provide chocolate chip cookies. Chocolate chip cookies. See, this is not a real life scenario. I'm just showing you how to use the software. A lot of you are kind of smiling. Yes, it's kind of funny, but this is just showing you that you can put in specific wording in a certain situation that will be stored. It could be something that's going to be used on a regular basis because we're going to take care of a lot of buyers, or it's going to be something that's going to be stored to take care of a lot of, or going to be used once in a very blue moon. For those who would understand a blue moon, it happens once in a long time. So we're going to do another category, seller. Well, let's say seller at time of closing. At time of closing, seller will provide milk for all parties involved. Once again, not a real life scenario you're going to face, but getting you the idea that you're going to put in your own specific wording in a certain situation that will apply. So I click save. So let's use this and see what it looks like. So I'm going to close this up. I got my two clauses. I go back into my transactions. I'm going to scroll down to George Castle at Signal Hill. Go into the documents. I'm going to beat up that RPA contract one more time. That poor RPA contract, but it just has so many lines to choose from. That's why. So the first thing is we're going to look for a spot where I can put it in. Forgive me. I'm going to find a spot for you. Let's see. Looking just for a beautiful little spot to put it in. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'll put it down here. So when I touched this field, it automatically popped up with a pencil. So when I click the pencil, I have the clause manager icon, and then I have these three different choices for lettering. We're going to talk about those in just a moment. So I'm going to choose this. I'm going to choose this particular one. It's the buyer's responsibility. And then I'm going to click that one. See, at time of closing, buyer will provide chocolate chip cookies. And I add another one. So now I can add an additional clause. We go to the seller category. At time of closing, seller will provide milk for all parties. So you see how that it's added all that verbiage into that spot that we're going to, because we were told this has to be included with every transaction in this specific spot. Now going back to this, you're like, well, wait a minute, what about those letters? What was up with those letters? Well, okay, let's do it. So the way it's done now, I have put the capital letter at the beginning of the sentence. I only capitalize the word seller. So it's not an overemphasizing of the statement. If I wanted to emphasize it a little bit more, every single letter, every single word has a capital letter at the beginning of it, that will put more of an emphasis on it. If I wanted to make it scream at me, I can put in all capital letters because I really like chocolate chip cookies and milk. Or if I want to de-emphasize that, then it's going to go that way. Unfortunately, there is not a way to put it back to the original way that I typed it, where it was the first letter of the sentence was a capital letter. It's either a choice of either all the words have a capital letter at the beginning, all of them are capital letters, or all of them are all lowercase letters. So this clause manager, I strongly recommend that you work with your broker and other individuals to add more clauses, because when the time comes, you're going to need that specific wording. Rather than trying to call someone to find out, oh, what is the right wording, go back and forth with your broker, contact the California Association of Realtors legal hotline for assistance to find the specific wording that's going to take care of you in a given scenario. And usually those times it's like you need to finish the transaction, need to finish the contract ASAP, because everybody's yelling at you to get it done. So putting your time into it first to get it all set up, and that way it'll be smooth sailing after that. So that is, once again, the wonderful clause manager. And that's in transactions under transaction tools, clause manager. And just please use it. The last thing is, actually second to the last thing, is creating listing transaction with RPR. So before we go on, any questions of anything that we've touched on so far?
I'm not seeing any right now. But this has been really good so far, right, Leo?
I think it's great because, the clause manager is such a huge time saver, just hand in hand with the template. The template, you create this template of these different forms that you're going to use in a given situation over and over again. Just click template, auto populates it into the transaction. And then the clause manager is there in case you need to auto populate this one section that has special verbiage, rather than keep typing all the time.
Which is also really great for when the broker advises you what you should say on certain forms, then it just helps out with that.
Yes. Yes. You don't want to be that agent that says, oh, I'm calling you again. I know I talked to you 2 months ago about this, but I need help with this again. It's just better just to create. It's best that you create a clause manager. So you have it there and you can use it anytime, whether it's next week, next month, 5 years from now, it's there. Okay, so next thing is RPR. Now let's take a roll. Let's see, raised hands. How many people have used RPR? And for those who don't know, it's okay. I'm going to tell you what RPR is in a moment. Anybody? I see one hand. Anybody else?
Doesn't look like it, Leo.
It's okay,
What does
because
RPR stand for?
real people read. No, it doesn't. Realtors Property Resource. Now, for those of you who are like, I never heard of RPR, that's okay. Now, you've probably like, I've seen RPR before. It's over here in transactions, but I've seen that symbol before. Where have I seen it? You've seen it every time you log into MLS. When you log into MLS, it's right there. You're like, oh. So when you log into MLS the first time, rather than going to Matrix, click that. I want you to link up your RPR account with your CRMLS account.
So what does RPR, what is RPR? Like, what is it basically?
I'm glad you asked, Anthony. Let me log in. Because what you will see is that you can be able to pull in information on properties, not only just locally, but nationwide. You can pull in tax information, loan information if it's available, school information. You can get comps and estimated values of the home. It's a great tool. It will add to already the tools that you're using already to do in case you need to do a really dynamic presentation working with your upcoming client. So for me, I've already linked up my RPR account with CRMLS and then also used it with zipForms. So there we are, there's me. But let's do a demonstration. So let me show you how to use it. So we're going to look at a listing. And now listing, we're going to look at a property. We'll look at this property right here, Redondo Beach. Why am I picking on that little house? Well, this house was a house I lived in for the first 5 years of my life. This house was purchased by my parents for $17,000. It was a long time ago. And then they sold it. They sold it, I believe, in 1978. And I'll show you. So this modest wooden structure, which was created in the 1930s, is right here, hidden behind this one big bush tree, and it's in a nice neighborhood. It really is. To give you more information about it, it's now no longer $17,000 value. It's almost $1.4 million. Yeah, $1.4 million home. Anyways, 5-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,048 square feet on a 7,500 square lot. And it's up on a hill because the street itself is on Hill Lane. So yeah, rocket science, you can figure that out. And you could see the Goodyear blimp go by. It was awesome. I loved it as a kid. The nice thing about RPR is that you can be able to refine the values. So as you're walking through it and you're talking to this client who owns the property, you could say that, oh, okay, I see that you have a 5-bedroom, 1-bath, but looks like you have another bath. So we can put that in there. And now let's say the living square foot is now it's 1,100 square feet. Okay, good. So, and then you click save. Now this information, it saves it. And as you see, it was built in 1936. As you see that the value has changed. Now let me just go ahead and refine the value. And it's only going to affect it here. So you see that the changes we made increase the value of the home by almost $76,000. So the original guesstimate of 1.378, you can effectively sell it without doing anything else as 1.45 million or more. In this market, probably 1.6. That's just my guess because I love this house. But anyways, that's my biased opinion. What else can I find with it? Before I talked about linking it with Lone Wolf zipForm edition, let me show you something else. The schools at a 1 point something million property, it better have some good schools, and it does. A+ property homes. It gives you some information about the estimated values of the property in Redondo Beach. Go further down, walkability, not so much. It's a neighborhood. It's a bit of a ways to get to the local grocery store. So the walkability, not so great, but it's nice. It's close to a school. So that's a nice perk to it. Information about the lot size of the property, 7,500 square feet. Building quality, it's a wooden structure. It's not the greatest, but it did flex quite a bit during the earthquake, so it was fine. It gives you information about the flood zone, owner information, APN number. Oh yes, so this is the APN number. If you're doing a new listing contract, you're going to need that APN number, the parcel number right there, the zoning information, etc. So rather than copy and paste when you go back and forth between other resources and into zipForms, this will automatically populate it for you. Tax information, mortgage information, etc. So how do we create a transaction with RPR? This button right over here. So if I click it, and then I can either add it to an existing contract, which I'm not because it's a totally different client. I can be able to start a new zipForm transaction because my other transactions were representing, for the most part, purchases, buyers, except for Alex. I'm going to start a new transaction. I have to choose a listing agreement and click OK. Not a listing agreement, but listing. It's created. So now I go to zipForms. And we just wait a moment, let it wait. If it takes a long time, then you can click the link if you wish. I've already linked up my zipForms account with it. You will probably have to log in with your CAR credentials, your CAR user ID, and your CAR password. But once that's done, it's linked up. You don't have to worry about it. Now, we look at the summary section once again. The summary section will show that lot 4, the address, the county, the school district. Yes, it's populating all this information, the year built, APN number, etc. So you see a lot of the information has already been populated. So you as the listing agent, you would just fill out the other information out that needs to be filled out. But as you see, a lot of it's already like there. So you don't have to do a lot of copying and paste. It'll save you so much time if you use this tool. Once again, the RPR, Realtors Property Resource. So the Realtor's Property Resource is a great tool when representing a seller. And then you would do, oh, help me here, when you're representing a buyer, MLS Connect. Thank you. So use MLS Connect if you're representing a buyer. So that's something we did in the other classes. We're specifically looking at RPR, and then you look at parties. There's your homeowner, and I believe he's still married. And honestly, this is the couple that bought the house from my parents. They're still there, so that's pretty amazing. And then you put in the email address, save the information, and that way you're going to be representing your client, David, and you're going to try to sell that property for 1.7 million or whoever will ever provide the best offer to your client. And then you put in documents and so on. You go through the whole process, all forms, residential listing agreement, cover sheet, and so on. So that's how you create a transaction using RPR. So once again, RPR, it's a great tool. It's free with your Realtor membership. Please do not ignore it. Take some time to learn more about it. I mean, I just gave you a little snippet of what to use and understand. There's learning that will teach you about it. There is a blog at the very bottom right there. And that will have links to education, so you can learn about how to use it to your best abilities. All kinds of videos to help you out, and webinars. So sign up for it and learn more about it today. So RPR, as you can tell, it's one of my favorite tools. And you can switch between commercial and residential. If you're looking for properties outside of California, that's okay. Everybody wants to move to Austin, Texas, right? No, it's too hot there. Okay, well, if you were interested, Austin, Texas, I've been there before, so it's nice. At least the part I went to. And it shows you that, oh, look, you have properties for sale. You can, like 1 bedroom, 1 bath, $384 a month. Wow. $384 a month. Wow. Okay. You can't get that here. But you can also just, use filters and take a look at, instead of looking at, get rid of pending, get rid of active under contract, get rid of co-ops, get rid of condos, just look at single homes for sale. Then you can check out what's available there. And how does it work? It pulls information from the MLS service that participates in it. Not every MLS service nationwide does use this, but this particular area does. So you can look at properties and see what's available in that area in case you have a client that's thinking about moving to Austin, Texas, or somewhere else. Sometimes you won't be able to pull the information. There won't be any houses available in a certain area because there's no MLS data from that area that participates with an RPR. $325,000. Oh my. Wow, that's incredible. Okay, so enough about that. So use RPR to create contracts, use RPR to learn more about your area that you're going to be looking on representing your clients, whether they're sellers or buyers. This will add to your presentation and give you deeper appreciation of the data that's out there too. So RPR, and we'll have one more thing left. Anybody else have any questions about anything else we've touched today?
I think they're taking it easy on you today, Leo.
Well, these are the best agents out there. Even your dog is happy to hear this.
Yeah.
Your dog is excited to know about how great RPR is there to help out all agents.
So, yeah, I mean, I love RPR. I love the fact that you could do a CMA using RPR, and then from that tool, just immediately create the transaction.
Yeah, it's
so quick and simple.
It is. Once you use it, you'll brag about it as well. I believe you would, but I'm biased because I use it for my classes. Okay, what I'm doing here is adding a seller's property questionnaire into that same 2316 Hill Lane. And that goes into the next presentation about the next tool that we're going to talk about. Any questions though before we go on?
So what data did it pull over, Leo? So when you pulled over the property or created the transaction in RPR, can you show on the form what fills in?
Ah, the forms. Okay. Let's go look at cover sheet. We'll start with that. The cover sheet is something that we recommend using because it auto-populates into everything. And we'll start with the buyer. There's no buyer. Representing the seller. There's the seller's information, contact information. You could fill this out at the phone number of the client. See, county, that would be Los Angeles. And say their phone number is, oh no, cell phone number, 714-555. Oops, that's not it. What happened? Hey, get over there. 714-555-1212.
Now, real quickly, Monica asks, how is the CMA and RPR different from the CMA from MLS? Number one, I will tell you just from personal experience, Monica, that the Matrix's CMA is nice, but it's not very, it's analytical. But if you do have an analytical client, I will tell you that the RPR reports themselves are highly detailed. They will actually dive into numbers that will astonish you. The reports are gorgeous. The details on each and every property that you're choosing for your comps using RPR is amazing. And there are things that you can do in RPR like refine the price. So you could take into consideration a client's modifications to the home, like maybe they updated the kitchen or, painted the walls or things like that. And that will auto adjust the estimated pricing, which is really great. Or you can refine the value based on things that need to be done to the home. So in a way, you could be the devil's advocate for a buyer going, well, if I was representing a buyer, this is what I know a buyer would look like or would look at first and foremost. So they're not going to pay top dollar for a property when they have to fix it up. So there's a lot of really cool choices. Not to mention RPR is really good for those moments where there isn't a lot of MLS data to choose from. Maybe you've had some for sale by owners or not a lot of activity in the neighborhood. So it's hard to pull an MLS CMA together when you don't have a lot of data. Whereas RPR, not only are you looking at MLS data, but you're also looking at tax data information. So even if the property was sold outside of the MLS, you're going to be able to use that data from RPR. I hope that helps.
And honestly, when you use RPR, you can create your own reports for properties that you used to live at locally. You can also use it for if a buyer is looking at a property, you can run up a report on that particular property so that way you can get an idea of what the estimated value is created by RPR. So if they're off by hundreds and thousands of dollars, that way you can be able to walk in to that situation with the selling agent, just like, okay, tell me why that your listing at 1.7 million is not really at 1.4 million with the CMAs I've been looking at. So,
yeah. And do we recommend any one over the other? No, it's choice. Something that CRMLS prides themselves on is giving you choice. So RPR is just one of 4 possible ways of making a CMA to sit down with a potential seller. You can make a CMA using RPR. You can make a CMA using realist tax records. You can use use the Matrix's CMA, or you can use the cloud CMA program to make a CMA. So you've got some choices. Each one has its own little benefit, but I definitely like RPR. just because of how detailed things are. And Leo and I are pretty analytical people. So, you know, Leo loves seeing numbers all day long. He likes debating numbers all day long. So if he was a client or a potential client of mine, I would probably run an RPR CMA to appease his need to look at numbers. Awesome. Does that help, Leo?
That does. That does. And I strongly recommend that you go ahead and just use it. Just go ahead and practice with it. Practice, practice, practice with it. Look at other properties. Look at properties that your dream property that's it's on your to-do list. So yeah, look at those properties. All right. So let's go back to zipForms. And in case you're like wondering, oh, where does the information populate? It populated here. And we can also look, this is a cover sheet. And if we're looking now at the RPA, you'll see that it populated also. In sections of the RPA, we saw a section where there's a signature, another signature field. That's the person's name, the address. And then also there's another information there where the listing's at, the APN number once again, so you're no longer copying and pasting. It's there. It's automatically populated in those fields. So it's a time saver. Take advantage of these time savers, please. You don't want to waste your time. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste.
Definitely agree to that.
Yeah.
Monica also asked, would you please show where you go to watch the webinar on your class today again? I missed the first one and the second one. Would you like to, yeah, we can show you where to go on our website for that.
So we'll go to ocrealtors.org. Under the drop-down menu of education, you're going to see a video library. Go ahead and click the video library. And down here is a video that doesn't exist. No, don't do it. Okay, but our videos, this is the key service, this is zipForms, this is MLS. So if you were to click the playlist for zipForms, it will pull up the videos that we created. So last hour was digital signatures. Prior to that was the intro. And prior class before that was digital signatures. If you want to just to get a rundown of the advanced tools and tips that we talked about last time, it's there. We have a lot of videos here that you can take a look at. We've created them over time, but we're putting up, looks like only 1, 2, 3, 6, only 6 videos so far. We must have got rid of the other ones. It's okay. But these 6 will help you understand how to use zipForms to your benefit, try to save time and understand some of the tools that we are sharing with you. We can't cover everything because that would be hours and hours of video. So we try to do it within an hour. Sometimes we run a little bit longer, hour and 13 minutes right there. Anthony's video. Sorry, Anthony.
That's okay. I'm also recording this, and it is also live on my YouTube channel as well.
Yes. And there's also a video of when I was dressed up like a pumpkin, I guess. Looks like I was wearing an orange shirt. Oh, how embarrassing. But anyways, so there's our videos there on our website. And Anthony, you touched on the YouTube channel. So by all means, you can take a look at it and go into, type in his name.
Now, Leo, before you end today, I think you were also supposed to show the share button.
I am, because I like to share with people.
And then if you see that we are live, so if you had gone back, there is one that's currently live, which is this class. But yeah, it is there.
Excellent. There we are. Okay. So we have, those are the resources there for you for either our website or Anthony's website to be able to watch the videos. And you'll also get a copy of this sent to you of this specific class that we shared with you. Okay, so sharing is caring. It looks like we're doing really well on time. We're at 4:25 p.m. and we only have one thing left. Wow. Looks like all of you get to cut out a little bit early and have a great rest of the day. So let's look at sharing. So we're back in transactions and we're going to share We're going to work on that same one that says the 2316 Hill Lane that we just touched on just a moment ago. And we're going to work on this one particular contract. We're going to work on the SPQ, the Seller's Property Questionnaire. We're going to share it back and forth with our client, David. So I'm going to click this icon that says share. Now, where else do you see share? Oh, right there. Why did they put it there and there? I don't know, but they did. So this is where you would click either click to share. So you're going to share the document with David, because the purpose of it is the seller's property questionnaire has to be completed by David. He has to indicate the things that exist at his property. Gas for the water heater, or garage or a carport. You'll see in just a moment. So I'm going to allow him to edit the form. He can upload the document. That's okay. You can, I don't need him to view history. I'm going to, however, choose a specific date as to when I can stop sharing with them. And for me, it's not all the way May 14th. Today is April 14th. So I'm saying you have until the 16th of April to get this done. So, because I'm going to make sure that I'm working with you to make this happen. So once again, this is the permissions he's allowed to do. And we're going to focus only on the seller's property questionnaire. And I'm going to save and send. And then there's some information. Dear, I can put in notes. Please do not start this without my direction, or whatever verbiage you want to use. So it's on its way over to David. Now, when going back to that form, seller's property questionnaire, I want to, for those who have never seen the seller's property questionnaire, the SPQ, you'll see that there are sections, you see it already, that are grayed out. You're like, what does that mean? Because I'm used to seeing areas of this color, but not the gray. You're like, well, that's just weird. So the seller's property questionnaire has to be completed by David. So he has to go through and talk about the property itself, and he has to answer these questions. One section here would be, whoops, let's go back there. Any modifications, replacements, improvements, etc. You'll have to answer a yes, no. I can't fill any of that out. So you see that it gave me an error message when I first clicked it. See, editable by seller one. So that's not me. I have to send it over to Dave, and he has to be the one to do it. But luckily with the share function, I can let him do it, but we can talk about it to make sure we cover all the bases. So going back into the email, because my dear friend David has received an email from me, the agent, and I sent it over to him. So now we're going to share. So Lil Aware is sharing a document. Click on the view documents below, sign, review. Please do not start this without my direction. So I'm obviously on the phone with him, talking to him, or I'm on FaceTime. Just make sure that everything's okay. And I want to help guide him through this process, because he's going to, after he clicks this, he's like, whoa, what is this zip community thing? Don't worry, he has to create an account with zip community, so that way I can be able to share this document in this forum. That's the only way I can do it effectively within the zip forms itself. Now, he has the ability to continue with Facebook or continue with Google+. Anthony and myself, we're not comfortable with Facebook or Google+, getting information that my client is doing something related to real estate or anything at all. They don't need to know that. I prefer, as well as Anthony prefers, that the client creates an account, because really that's just this is a private transaction. I don't need to be advertised on Facebook or Google+. I don't need specific ads on that I'm selling my home. So create account. And then David, unusual that it flipped his first name and last name. Unusual, but okay, I can tolerate that. I'm going to choose a username. David 20 2022 Redondo Beach, RB. And then there's the email address, password. Okay, so his user ID is David 2022 RB. Okay, password. I'll make a password. And please stand by. Let me try this again. And it must be at least 8 characters. I think I did it, no? You won't see this message unless you keep practicing sending emails to yourself, doing this like the same thing I'm doing. So you're not going to see this because this email account already exists in the database. So I'm going to continue with this email. Great. Okay. So now my client, David, can be able to take advantage of this in the future. He has to read the terms and conditions. It's kind of hard to read, but he'll have to go through it and he has to agree to the terms and conditions before we can go on. So he can read it. I would encourage you to print this out so that way you have it, a hard copy present, so that way you can go over this with him in case David has a question about page 2, section E or something. So he's read it. He's okay with it. He's comfortable with it. He has a computer. This is not a problem for him. So he's going to click the first one and click continue. Okay, so this is his account. This is Zip Community account. He sees his agent right there. What he's looking for is documents. And sure enough, there is a document, the seller's property questionnaire that I, the agent, has shared with David. So David's opening it up and I'm telling David about this. And David's like, whoa, what's with this purple section? David, don't worry about it. This is a section I've completed. This is my responsibility to complete. Your focus on this would not be the purple section, but the light blue section. So for example, reports, disclosures, inspections, disclosures, warranties, maintenance, recommendation, etc. in section 5. Providing you can say no if this is true. So he would have to answer these questions. It's his responsibility to answer these questions. You can discuss it with him to make sure that it's complete. So you can view this at the same time that correction. You could discuss it with him. You can't actually see him clicking this, but when he's updating it, you can refresh your end and you can be able to see that he's updated. So for example, section 6, within the last 3 years, the death of an occupant upon the property? No. Methamphetamines? No. Release of an illegal substance on the property? No. No, it's not industrial zone. Nuisance? No. 1 mile former? No. Okay, no. And insurance claims affecting the property? No. Matters is affecting the title? No. Which, no. Plumbing? Let's say yes. Explanation, we can just like copper piping leaks from backside. Okay. Okay, I'm going to stop right here and I'm going to hit save. So Dave is saving this information. So you get the idea that Dave has already completed some information here. So I said, Dave, that's great. Thank you for doing so. Now let me refresh my side to see what you see. So I'm going to refresh it. Go back in. Go to documents. I don't like that annoying window. Documents. Go to the seller's property questionnaire. And then I will scroll up and see, oh yeah, look it. He's completed some sections here. Oh yes, okay, good. So if there was a discrepancy, we can address it now. It's like, oh, okay. You got copper piping, leaks from the backside. What about from the front side of the house? Oh yeah, let me add that in there. So Dave can also add that in there as well. From backside and from front side. Dave's finished. He hit save. Good. And David tells the agent, I've saved it. I've finished it. Okay, great. Let me refresh my side. Let me go back in. There we go. Copper piping leaks from the backside and from front side. There you go. I should have just said front side, but so you get the idea how to use the software now. So you're going to be sharing this document. This is an ideal situation to work with your client. Another scenario that you can use is that if you're the new agent, you can work with a mentor and use this same share function with the mentor and share that. And it's just like, I need you to take a look at this document that I'm going to send out to my client. I want you to make sure that I've done everything correctly. That can be done. Or whether the mentor is the broker, he can do the same thing. That's fine. Or if you're the mentor or you're the broker, you have the ability to use this to be able to share this with your agents. So that way you could show the agents, this is the way I want you to complete this particular document. So, and this is the way you would do it because I want you to do it. I want you to act like my client. So that way, when you start working out there, working with clients, you understand what they're going through when they have to fill out the SPQ form. Any questions about this?
That was amazing, Leo. That share function is quite an amazing tool.
It's great. You can also use it for uploading your own document into the transaction and share that particular document with whomever needs that information. It's not just for zipForm documents only. It can be used for any document that you upload in the transaction.
You can edit PDF files?
No, you can share it. You can share it and you can be able to see it.
Gotcha.
So that way they're like, oh, wow, okay, that's a.
And this
That's
is all
interesting.
before digital signing the document. So if there is a mistake, you can at least catch it ahead of time, huh?
Yes. Because had we encountered that problem, copper piping leaks from backside, and David only completed that section and didn't mention the front side, then I start going through it. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, Dave, we talked about the leaks in the house. You mentioned here the backside, but you didn't mention the front side. Okay, Dave, what I have to do is I have to send that information back to you and you have to redo it from scratch. No. Yes, Dave, we need you to do it from scratch because look, Dave, you answered everything right except for that one section, section K. And as you can see, there's lots of information. So that'll be very annoying for Dave to go through this entire thing again. So it's best to go through it, take the time into this, go over it together. Once completed, then you have a finalized document that can be sent out to whoever needs this and stored in your records in case anybody needs this information. So that's the share
awesome.
function. So anybody have questions about the share function? I think it's a great function. When I heard about it, I'm like, wow, that's great. That's just, you could share stuff. I had no idea. I thought I was still stuck on emailing and all that.
So far, we haven't had any questions.
Okay, so we have this class up until 5 p.m. Anybody have any other questions that you want to go or you want, if you wish, we can cut out early. Because we can address any questions that you may have. And while you're trying to formulate a question, one thing I do want to point out is if this is the first time you're using zipForms or you're going to be using zipForms soon for the first time, all of us that uses zipForms, we all have to renew your license, quote unquote license to use zipForms in the month of March. So in the month of March, you'll receive a request from zipForms to renew the license. And you'll see it's in the shop and it'll be costing $0. So don't be alarmed by that. Every year we have to go through that. Even staff members have to go through that too. So we have to renew the license every year. So when you have an active Realtor membership, you have the ability to use your zipForms year after year. And the documents that you create within zipForms will last you for, will stay here for 7 years. And you're encouraged to store it here. You have other ways of storing the documents elsewhere as well, if you wish.
That was amazingly informative, Leo. It looks like we don't have any questions.
Okay.
So I want to say thank you for giving us all this wonderful training today. I think you did a really great job, and I hope everybody has enjoyed it. Hopefully, no one is overwhelmed with the information that was given out today.
Talking about overwhelmed, help is always available. Now, we may not work 24/7, but zipForms can be able to assist you on the hours that we're not available for the most part. They're not open 24/7, but Monday through Friday they are. So zipForm support's available from CAR at 213-739-8227. ZipLogix, they can provide you assistance with the software, not with the legal documents, but using the software at 586 area code 840-0140. If you have questions about the contract itself, what forms I need, the wording, you want to contact the CR legal hotline at 213 area code 739-8282. Lone Wolf is also available at 866-279-9653. That's the parent company of zipForms. If perhaps there's additional questions you need answered, you can give them a call. And I also threw at the last minute our Orange County Video Library. So if you need to look for that, yeah, it's under education, look for the video library, but that's the URL for it as well. All right. I guess that's it for today, Anthony. Yes.
If there are any questions or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to us. Leo, what's your information again? 949, or I'm sorry, 714 what?
Since we want to reach out to Leo, we can go, here it is. Let me just give it from current slide. My phone number here at the board, I'm in Fountain Valley. It's 714 area code 375-9313. And my extension number is 239. But if you have the phone number on speed dial for the Laguna Hills location, that's fine. 949-586-6800. If you dial that number, just hit extension 239. That'll get you to me.
Or you can hit extension 104, which will get you to me. You can also email us at Tony, Tony at ocrealtors.org. Or what's your email, Leo?
Leo at ocrealtors.org. Leo at ocrealtors.org. Do email me. I'm really good at responding to the emails.
Awesome.
In case you have any questions.
Well, thank you all very, very much. I hope you all have a wonderful day and weekend, and that you get to practice all the fun tools that we went over today and that Leo went over today. And hopefully this has made your transactional lives a lot easier. But again, if you do have any questions, please reach out to us. We're here for you. And with that said, I hope you all have a great and wonderful weekend.